Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Brett Blythe. I'm an academic advisor I'm sharing my screen here. I am the tall, thinly headed man on the top right. So as you can see with my name there, this is all of the academic advising that we have for the College of Arts and Media. So we've got Sarah, CJ, and Megan. Today I'm going to be doing kind of finishing the last four-part series we have of helping faculty kind of learn a little more about degree progress and some of the features that we have that they may not use or touch every day that we are involved in. Today I'm going to specifically be covering course registration and planning. So I'm going to be discussing some of the things. Essentially, it's going to be MAP, talk a little bit about notes, going to cover some multi-semester registration information, and then kind of finish with basically some best practices type things, some things that we use that might just be good to know, kind of what's on the mind of advising from the academic advising level. So let's get started. As Dan said, I do have this is a real CMU student's account, although we did anonymize it here. So it says CAM test student number 3. His parents did not hate him. That is not a real name. So this is, as you can bet, we kind of switched it out. So while this is real student information, right, this is not their name. Now, this is a student who does not have a major declared yet. So as you can see, when you open up their degree progress, they started 2021, they have 37 credits done. They're not enrolled in 27 because this is the test account. It kind of takes multiple semesters and kind of jams them together. So they're not enrolled in 27 credits. But what I want to start with is I want to start talking a little bit about the MAP feature. You may or may not know about MAP. It kind of came into effect last academic year. And what MAP is essentially a way to map out their graduation plan. So we've been doing graduation planning. I know Sarah was doing it before I got here. I've been here a little over 3 years now. And basically taking from where they are now to everything you need to do to graduate in the timeline that you want to graduate in. Similar to basically a major map that's customized per student, right? So the cool thing about MAP is it's part of degree progress. So it's right over here. If you guys can see this here. So basically within MAP, when you click on that, you're going to get this screen shows up. Now, the first thing you're going to see is this is their undeclared page. So this is them not having a major declared, okay? This is them. This is what they took in fall. This is what they're currently registered for in spring. And then as you scroll down, you can see multiple years. This is next year. This is the following year. And essentially, this is where you can go in and you can say, these are the classes I want you to take. So to kind of describe how academic advising is going to use it and how you're going to use it and how together we're going to help that student be successful. We're going to use it together in our team advising, kind of like we do now. So what we're going to do when we meet with those students is we're going to do graduation planning. We're going to map out, if they know their major and they know their minor, we're going to map out everything that they need to graduate in those timelines. So what's in fall, what's in spring, do you need summer, do you not? We're going to go through all those things and we're going to put it in here. The great thing about having this available in degree progress, and the reason that we want to make sure you guys are aware of this, is because it's going to help those students as we kind of work back and forth between faculty advising and academic advising. So hopefully everyone is familiar with a what if, right? So if they don't have a major declared, you can click this button here and it says, what if I majored in this? What if I minored in this? A lot of times we'll use this to get a look at what do you need to complete if you want to graduate. So I went ahead and I did a what if already for this student. So I said, okay, let's just see if this student wants to do, I believe this is a major in broadcasting with a minor in multimedia design. So as this loads, here we go. Yep. So this is a what if. Everyone hopefully knows what a what if is. So this is what their degree progress would look like if they declared the BCA major with the MMD minor. The cool thing about the map is that you can actually go through and you can map out off of a what if. Because right now it's only showing you general education. So it's showing you like the university program over here on the right. As you scroll down, you can see these are the UPs that they have left to do, and you can kind of place these in specific semesters. if we go to the what if, it's going to give us some more information. So now it's going to show us the things that we kind of really want to use when we do our graduation planning and put classes in specific areas. And the cool thing about having the relationship as we build it and then you meet with the student later on, for instance, over here we have general education and now we have broadcast. If I click on the broadcast as the major, it's showing me the requirements that they haven't completed yet, okay? So when I meet with the students, I'm gonna map out what they need to do. So I'm gonna collapse this academic year because that's right now. So I'm gonna go to next year. So as you can see, they needed BCA 101 and 210 and I clicked them in there. And I clicked in where I wanted them to go. So for instance, let's say I want them to take BCA 503 and I want them to take it in the spring of 23. I can click this and it's gonna show me these little pluses and I'll say, put it over here. And it adds it right in there. So now you can see I want them to take spring 23. I want them to take BCA 503. What's great about this, as I talked about in the relationship between faculty and academic advising, is as we move forward, they have electives to take. So for broadcasting, they have 12 credits of elective to take. And you can add placeholders of elective, which I did. So for example, let's say I wanted to put another BCA elective in fall 23. I hit add placeholder. Now they're going to take a broadcasting elective, okay? I can tell them a specific level, like I need that to be a 400 level class. And I'm just going to put this here. So when they meet with their faculty advisor later on, they start talking about what type of broadcaster they want to be, what specifically they want to do. That faculty advisor might say, listen, you know, a great elective for you to take would be BCA 440. That faculty advisor can come back in here and they can see this. And if they wanted to, they could stick a note in here and they could say, take BCA 440 for elective 400 level, right? Or if they even wanted to be more specific, and this is great for specifically theater, dance, some of those classes where they're picking specific electives, they could say, okay, I'm just going to take this out and I'm going to put in BCA 440. Now they're taking that specific class. And then that's a great relationship. And then the most important thing, and I'm going to say this probably 3 to 4 times, is you have to click the save button. Otherwise, all is naught, right? If you don't save it, it's gone. So what's cool is every save creates different records. So now it's showing I last edited on 2/2, right? But I can come back and I can see that a faculty advisor edited this on a certain day and time. So I can see what they did, and I can also go back and see what it looked like before they made the change. So that way it's keeping a record of as we're building this and kind of as we're working through it, okay? So MAP it's a great thing. If they don't have those majors and minors declared, you can use it on a what if, you know, so each one of these guys is kind of giving you what's required. Multimedia design, okay, so let's go in here and I want them to take Art 231 in the fall. Click that there. Let's do CPS in the spring, put that there. So as you can see, and these warnings, what it's telling you is sometimes, and I don't know why, because CPS runs all the time, but for those classes that don't run consistently all the time, it'll tell you these are when these classes ran last. So that way you can kind of get an idea of how many sections ran and when they ran. So, you know, you can put these in here and we'll just sequence this out. So essentially this is going to be a follow-up to the graduation plan that we made. I'll put it in here and I'll save it. And then the student can come back and they'll see MAP over here, and then they can come back and see this. But also later on, we'll talk about how this coordinates with course search registration, because they can actually search in course search registration, if they have a map created for that semester they're looking for, so fall 22, it says search by map. So if there are specific courses in here that we want them to take, it'll actually show them all the different options for those courses. So they don't have to look up the classes individually. It will show them what that looks like. So that's a really cool feature too. And then the other thing that's nice is as you fill these in, it doesn't update live. So you can click update, and as you put classes in there, it will take a look at what you did and it will update those menus on the left. So when you go into multimedia design or broadcast or whatever, now it's showing you what you have left. So if you added placeholders, it'll show you 12 credits. If I were to add some in here and click update, it would subtract that number. Okay, I see Mary Beth nodding. That's good. Do you have a question, Mary Beth?
Yeah, you're so good at this that you went real fast on how you
I
added.
apologize.
Well, you're used to it, so you move so fast. So show me how you
Okay.
add
Yeah.
something in. Yeah.
Perfect question. So the cool thing about this is you can add a number of ways. So let's say I want to add BCA 510, right? I want to put this class in a semester. You can do it a couple ways. This little green arrow here, if you click that arrow, it's then showing you these little plus boxes on these semesters. You then select the semester that you want to put it in and hit the plus box. I want it right there. And now it added it to that semester. If you don't want to go back and forth, like let's say you're a person and your hands are on the keyboard and you don't want to go back and forth between the mouse, you can also type it in. So you can say, okay, 510, and let's say you created an Excel document that you have on another screen, right? And you want to just type everything in all at once. You could click on add course, and you could just start typing in BCA 510. You could click it, and then you can click the plus button, and now it's added it to that semester also. So there's multiple ways to get it there. And this is going to come in handy for folks like theater or dance who you may not see all the 100 electives. If you have a specific course that you're creating that's like, or even like an Art 397J or something that you don't know the name of it and it's not showing over here on the left as an elective, you can type those classes in. And for us, you might see something that says elective, because let's say the student has general electives to take before they'll hit 120 credits. We might type in here elective, and I need a general elective. And it adds it. I can make it 3 credits. I can make it 2 credits. If, let's say this BCA, right, this 222, let's say I need them to take this semester. It's very important. Let's say it's a fall only, or it's a spring only, or prereqs and coreqs. I need you to take it. This little guy right here shows you different options. So you can say, you can click this little locked button and you can lock it in there. You're like, you can't move this. I need it in this semester. Or let's say it's a university program class and I need it to be a writing intensive. I can click this and I can say writing intensive, right? So you can make it, and we are going to put through and ask them to add something like a fall only and a spring only. So for folks like music and folks like that, you're like, hey man, 103 only runs in the fall. This is not an option. So you could click fall only and spring only. So that way you're going to get exactly what you need. Does that help answer your question, Mary Beth? Does that make it easier?
Yeah, that's perfect. I've been playing around with this a little bit, and I just have been adding courses, but I've seen other people with those other blocks, and I didn't know how they got there. So that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yep. And here's something, we're going to talk about notes in a little bit, but you can add notes. So notes in MAP are very consistent with each semester. So you'll see maps from us and we'll say something in here like, let's say I want them to take a UP4B, but I didn't click the UP thing, right? Like I didn't add the designator in here for 4A. So I may write in here UP4A, make it WI. You have to click the add the note, okay? Now these are specific to the semester. So you want to, whatever notes you put here, you want them to be notes for that semester. So Mary Beth, if you're like, you've got a junior or a senior and you're like, hey, don't forget that I need you to get your junior recital, or I need you to audition for this band, or, you know, Jaffe, if you're like, hey, you know, don't forget 551 before 556, and you want to make specific notes in there, this is where you can do that for each semester. It is important, though, that you have to click the add note for each one, Because if you add a bunch of notes and you click save, I can't guarantee you those notes are going to save. So the add note button is the save feature for each note. So that part is specific, okay? Now, I also have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to post. So if later on you watch this recording and you don't feel like listening to the hour-long recording of MAP and whatever, you can actually come back, and I have screenshots that kind of point through how to do some of this stuff. So that way you'll be able to do that as well. And that's posted back on this page here under faculty resources. So the College of Arts and Media page, current students, academic advisors is this page. And then we have a faculty resources here. So this page is actually pretty great. You can always come back here and hang out, check for forms, whatever your heart desires. So let me check my notes here and make sure I didn't miss anything on MAP. So you're going to see maps out there from us. I encourage you to please make them more detailed. So if you're meeting with someone and you see it says theater elective or music elective or journalism elective, and you're like, you've had the conversation and it would be way better for them to take this specific BCA class instead of BCA designator, feel free to delete that guy and write the course in there, because that's literally what we want. You guys are the experts for the major. And for some of those majors like theater and music and even journalism, broadcast, we're relying on your expertise. And that's kind of the relationship that we have so that we can help the students, move through their major and get everything that they need. Okay, so we've got participate now. Students did that, progress. So before I move on to our next folks talking about notes, what questions does anyone have? Jaffe, do you have any questions about MAP?
Not yet, but good to know. I haven't seen this much.
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things where if you can easily not notice that it's been added, or you can click in it and then be a little overwhelmed by the 100,000 things that you see, and you're like, well, that seems like a lot. Moving on. So yeah, I can get how it can be a little overwhelming, but it is a great feature. We're going to be using it. And you can see if they'll have a map or not, because it'll tell you like they have one map in there or they have two maps in there. So if you open a student record and you see a number here, just know that we put a map in there. It may not be built all the way out. It might have just been from when they were a freshman and that was their first year. But feel free to use this in helping those students figure out their major. Because if you go through and help them with major and electives, we're going to come through later on and we're going to fill in the rest with UPs and WIs and QRs and everything else that they need to graduate.
Yeah, it will be especially good for those as you said, like a once a year courses. That can be really helpful.
And if that fall only and spring only is not there, feel free to use that little locked button right here. And then also go ahead and make a note. Bill, please take this class. It's fall only. You will hate your life if you miss it. Stuff like that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So Brett, when they've already signed their major, the major and minors are on the left-hand side already?
Yes. So this is the what if.
Right.
Basically, if they're major and minor, like for you, they should all be signed. Right. So your main one that will show up, you won't need a what if because it'll be there. Now, you may need to use a what if they don't have a minor. So you may see one, or we may just go in and type it in there. But yeah, if they have a major and a minor declared, the first tab, which is their default tab in degree progress, will be their default tab in MAP. And then you'll be able to see the stuff here. Like for those music ed folks, it'll be like Bachelor of Music, and then they'll have stuff for the specific degree requirements. And so you'll be able to click and move through each one.
If they have two degrees, will all of that show on the left, or will I have to?
It should.
Okay.
If it's all declared, if it's declared and required, you're going to see it on the left.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, Brett, I might add to that. If it is 2 different degrees, we might want to check Mary Beth, because if there's 2 tabs on their normal page, that might kind of automatically pull up 2 map tabs.
Right. So you may see 2 up here instead of a what if. You might have one and another. Yep.
So, but I think that's a really good point and something we could take to Jared to be like, is this merged or not? But they could potentially be 2 separate things.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We're going to trust but verify on
So
that.
you guys are going to go through on some sort of rotation and check their gen ed stuff. Is that what I
So
heard?
as we meet with students,
Yeah.
so if I have an academic advising appointment with a student, and during that appointment, we're going to do graduation planning and we're going to map them out. They know what they want to do, major, minor. I'm going to go through and I use a document to help make sure I don't miss anything. And we sequence everything out. Then I come back to map and I put it all in.
Okay.
So then they'll have a map version of it as well.
Okay.
Yep.
One other question. Probably you've seen a lot more than individual faculties do. Like now with the enrollment, it does impact scheduling. So if we create this map like 3 years out or 4 years out, like to what extent have you seen the impact of that's going to like really mess up the map because of like a class is canceled or?
Yeah, it's like anything. I may make a graduation plan with a student, and then let's say there was a course we had mapped out, but it filled up and they didn't get it. So the next time we meet, we'll update it. So if I build the perfect map and then something happens and they change their mind or they didn't get into those courses, or let's say they took a class and it was no credit, I'm just going to edit it. So that's what these little X's are for. So if it doesn't work out and they didn't get 211, right? So let's say they were supposed to take 211 this spring and they didn't get it, or they got a no credit. So I may go here and I'll say, okay, well, that's not going to work. So now I need to add BCA 211 here.
And you can just drag between semesters too, right?
Pardon me?
Can you drag between semesters? Like if you want to move a class to another semester?
No, it doesn't let you do that.
Oh, my bad.
It's not that Microsoft Office friendly. But you can see what I'm saying, Jaffe. It's editable. So we would just go in and edit and adjust each semester as if we would an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay. I guess I'm asking like, do you see that as a major factor in like messing up the map or not really? It's just individual changes there. I guess I'm asking like to what extent, like so far as you have seen, because you've seen a lot than we do individually. Like how does the enrollment and the change in schedules like impact this map, or just not very much?
It depends by department.
Okay.
For theater, it's very much depending on their, they send us a schedule of when classes are going. So we use that schedule to build the map. If it's something like journalism where I'm used to such and such classes always running every semester and all of a sudden we see that they're not running, then we'll have to adjust the map. Most of the time, this is built off of where we've been and what we've seen in the past. So unless things start changing dramatically, the maps are pretty dialed in based on where they are. We usually build them for sophomores. Sometimes we'll build them for freshmen. If a freshman has a really advanced thing on what they want, we'll build it their freshman year for 4 years out. Most of the time we're building this for sophomores. They're mid-year, so it's like the end of their sophomore year and then junior, senior. So.
Thanks, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so also, once we build a map, information can be pulled from map to see what's been mapped out for future semesters. So if you're wondering how many people are going to need journalism 445 in the spring of 23, and we've done a ton of maps, you can actually pull that information. Because if you're like, okay, I'm going to run one section of this, that should be enough, and you pull some data out of map, which you can use the registrar's office with, and you see, okay, they've got 50 people need 445. We're going to need 2 sections. Right? So it works hand in hand with departments. So you can use and pull data too.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah. Any other questions about the map? And again, this is one of those things where this is a good, I'm showing you this information and I'm kind of, I don't want to overload. You're going to use this and have more questions later on, which I hope that you do. So if you do, any of the advisors are here. Like we talked about in the past, if you're in a student record and you have questions about the map, if you look under advisor, you can see what advisor built that map. You can see who built it here, but also now that we're doing caseloads, each student has their own academic advisor assigned to them. So we want to make sure we're connecting with the correct advisor per student. And we can assist if you're like, hey, Brett, did you bump your head? What's happening? Why'd you put these classes in here? You know, I'll be like, well, I did bump my head and I did it wrong. Or, hey, you know, this is what I was thinking based on what the students said. So that way you can answer questions and work together. Cool? Awesome. Let's move on to notes. So notes are something that we use a ton of in academic advising. Every time that an academic advisor meets with a student on campus, we're going to use notes. So notes are down here. See this little 3 next to them? That means they have 3 notes in there. And so when you click on that, you're going to get this screen. Okay. So you can kind of scroll down and see all the different times. So Megan entered a note on January 29th at 1:35, and she said she met with a student and discussed planning of upcoming academic year. So let's talk just quickly about the difference between notes in MAP and notes here. So a note in MAP is very specific information about that specific semester for the classes they're taking there, right? So this is fall only, make that class a WY, you know what I'm saying? It's very semester specific. What would be great for students and, you know, kind of, and honestly, I use it for myself as much as for the student to remind myself what we talked about. The notes in degree progress under the notes tab here, which is in degree progress itself, is kind of a summation of what you talked about. So as you can see here, I entered a note, and again, this is test, so I didn't actually meet with them, but you know, we had a video appointment on 2/2. We talked about the new major and minor because they're switching over from one to another. We started working on their map to get a graduation plan. We ran out of time, so we're going to finish that map in our next appointment. I want her to chat. She's going to chat with her broadcasting faculty member to declare her major and talk with that faculty member about career path and electives to take and so on and so forth. So these notes are always more like kind of summarizing what you did in the appointment, right? So like I met with a student today, Mary Beth, and they're suddenly decided their junior year after 80 credits that he wants to teach music. And I'm like, okay, awesome. So I put a lot of notes in there and I'm like, we're going to refer you over to EHS and I need you to connect back with Mary Beth to talk about timelines and how you want to do both. So awesome. Understanding you're going to be here for a really long time and how that's going to take, you know, so you can always check these notes if you're meeting with a student to see where have they been, what have they talked about. And in that student's case, they had never met with an advisor, which was very telling when I looked at their degree progress. So you can see who did they meet with, what have they been talking about, and then when we get in our next appointment and we see, oh, they did meet with Heather from BCA and they talked about that they want to be a music engineer and they want to do those things, that's great for us as well, because we can kind of get an idea of what they've been talking about. So when we meet with that student, we can line up things. So if that faculty advisor said, you know, take one broadcasting elective each semester from now till graduation. So if I'm going to update their grad plan, I know that that's how I want it to go because that's what they talked about. So notes are incredibly great for communicating information to the student and to us. And on that point, let's make sure we understand. So if you're typing a note in here, you know, you can type it however you want. You know, you can do something simple like Megan did. You can make it more detailed like this, but there are multiple ways to save it. It's going to default under the privacy level. So if I say, you know, met with, you know, Cam, whatever the note is. If I hit save, it's going to save it to faculty, staff, and student. The student's going to see this note, okay? That's the default level. If you're doing it just for yourself and you want to make a note for yourself to remind you, you can change it to faculty, staff only. So now, and you have like 15 minutes to edit the note after in case you make a mistake. So you can see down here, like Megan saved it faculty, staff only. And what's cool, in the past it wasn't this way, but as of this week, when a student logs into their degree progress, if they have 4 notes here, but only one of them says student, they're only going to see a 1. They're not going to see 4. They only see the number of notes that were saved so that the student can see it, okay? So when you guys are making notes in here, just remember that it's going to default to this setting So however you type it, it's going to see it. So if you're like me, sometimes I'll say, video appointment, he's going to meet with this, he's going to meet with that, blah, blah, blah. And if you forget, so that was a note for you, the student's going to read, if the pronouns are right or not right, or, if you use specific words that mean something to you but mean something to no one else, just make sure that you understand which way you're saving it. So if I was making a note for a student, I would write something like, Sarah, don't forget to do this, this, and this. In the fall, we talked about you taking this, this, and this. So I'm going to write it specifically so that it makes sense for the student, because I want the student to see it, okay? So there's multiple ways to save it. Okay, let's see. I'm checking my notes here to make sure I'm getting everything that I need to get to. Does anyone have any questions about using the notes feature in Degree Progress?
Can I add a little something to that?
Yeah, sure.
Excuse me. Even if you make a note, faculty, staff only, we can't guarantee that a student will never see that. So you still need to be mindful of kind of what you're putting in there. There's plenty of advisors that'll turn the screen and kind of point to a note or reference a note. So the student very much could see the content in there. These aren't truly private to you.
And it is, thank you, Sarah. And keep in mind, to that point even further, it is student record. So if a student were to ever come in and go to the registrar's office and want to see literally everything that's in the academic student record, this is part of their student record. So they would then also see all the notes that were ever put in Degree Progress. So good point. Thank you, Sarah.
I guess I was about to ask because in the morning, we were just talking about just notes in another area. I thought if the same level of access applies, but I guess this is just like okay, we don't need to worry about that. Just remember they can see that.
Yeah, so, if it's a note for you, just to remind yourself, make it faculty, staff. If it's something that you're communicating to the student, like let's say you had a really great academic advising appointment and you gave them a bunch of to-dos, like, hey, I need you to go get involved in this, and I need you to go do that, and don't forget to, pick up the whatever, part over an IPR, then you want to make it for the student. Because you're sending them an electronic to-do, and you can tell them, hey, these are the things I need you to do after our appointment. And just so you know, I'm going to put a note in there. So when you log into Degree Progress, you can always see what we talked about again. So it's also super convenient for those students who like lose their backpacks and don't remember what you say. You can be like, hey, this is the place you can always find what we talked about. Questions, concerns, things on your mind about notes?
Jay, you had mentioned the notes we talked about last time. If you add a note attached to like an amendment or something, that will auto-populate in that notes section, like that Brett's showing right there. So again, you don't have to worry about putting that in multiple places.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, the goal is to have a kind of a one-stop shop. That's what we're trying to make Degree Progress with the map and the notes and all that stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about multi-semester registration. I know that we've lived through it for one cycle. The schedule is going to open up. So registration is going to open February 22nd for priority registration. And then as usual for this year, they'll be able to register for summer 21, fall 21, and spring 22. So if you can, when you're chatting with those students, just to reinforce, because we're telling them too, but a lot of times you'll see students that we may not see. Please remind them that they need to register for all 2 semesters, fall and spring. If you're taking summer classes, summer as well. Because we have met with students who will forget that it's all year, and we'll meet with them and they'll be like, oh, I never registered for spring. And we've been registering for 4 months and the classes they needed are closed. So we want to make sure that we're reminding those students, that it is important that we register for all of those. If you have classes, and sometimes faculty member will email us all of advising, and they'll say, hey, we have this class that we're piloting. We really want to get some enrollment in it. I want to make you aware of it so that you can assist students in getting them, number one, aware of the course, but also enrolled in the course. Let us know as early as you can. A lot of times faculty will say, okay, well, we'll put it out there, see how many we get. If we don't get anyone, we will email the advisors and let them know that it exists. So with registration really only being 2 weeks this year for priority reg, it's really short. We're going to see a lot of our students. We're seeing our students literally now, and we're building graduation plans now. So we will have met with a majority of our students prior to registration opening. So if you want to make us aware of a class that you're going to run in fall or spring, we need that information now versus when registration opens, because honestly, I've already built all my maps and it's kind of too late by then. Whereas if I have that information early, I can assist you in getting students enrolled in those courses or creating that awareness of the class that might be perfect for them. So if you have that stuff, let us know early. We do have, and then students can use the map to register for that. So in course search registration, they can search by map. So using those maps makes that easier too. Let's see. Let's chat a little bit about best practices for student success, some things that we try and do here. So I always make sure that when we do my appointments, that I read my notes prior to the appointment. So that way, if you're meeting with a student, click on those. If you see a number, my notes. So if you see a number in here, feel free to click that, because that's going to give you a history on what has happened with this student prior to. It's either going to have a note where they declared the major, or a note where they met with us, or they met with Sarah, or they're coming from business and they're thinking they want journalism now. You know, they thought they wanted marketing but realized they hate accounting and finance. Now they're looking for advertising. You know, that information is going to be in there. So if you see a number next to note in their degree progress, go ahead and click on that, so that way you can you learn as much as you possibly can. Notes from your appointments are very helpful. We would love to get an idea of some of the stuff that faculty talk about with students, because that's going to help us in our next conversation. We refer students to faculty constantly, because that relationship that we have, you guys, is so important. You're the experts on the field and you're the experts in the major, and we want them to meet with you guys to talk about what kind of musician do I want to be? What kind of journalist do I want to be? What kind of broadcaster do I want to be? So that way we can work together and kind of share information. We do have caseloads, as we talked about. So if you're like, hey, the student has a question and you may not know the answer to it, or you need to make an amendment or something you need to do, check the advisor. So click on this little advisor button here and then see who their advisor is. So in this instance, it's Renee, right? She's over in CBA. So if it would say CJ or Sarah or myself, and then just refer those questions to the right advisor, so that way we can get you to the right person as fast as possible. The number of credits per semester. So the provost is really encouraging students register for at least 15 credits per semester. That's big when it comes to things like scholarships. A lot of students have scholarships that require so many credits per semester. So we want to encourage planning. We're almost always going to plan for 15 credits a semester. Times where we may not do that with a student, as if like a graphic design student in their last year may not have 30 credits to take to graduate. So we're going to always kind of push for 15 credits a semester, unless they're just physically not enough credits, and we're going to balance out those loads. So when you're meeting with students, we always want to try and encourage 15 credits a semester. Course overlappings. This is more kind of in your house. Sometimes when we're meeting with students and we're doing those graduation plans and we're following a major map and we're talking with the students about classes we want them to take, sometimes we'll find specific classes that they need to take in a semester, but there's only one section of the class and there's 2 classes that are offered in the same section at the same time. So when you guys are building your courses, try and be mindful of those interdisciplinary stuff, or students with a major and a minor, where journalism classes and broadcasting classes, or music and dance sometimes has that problem for those music theater folks. So if you, I know it's hard sometimes when you're trying to do it all, and I can only imagine trying to map all that out. That would be my personal nightmare. I don't think there's a whiteboard big enough for me to write them all out and then see if you've done it all without overlapping, but that's big for us. And when we find those overlaps, we do send those to the departments. So if you can try and be mindful of that, that would be great. And then, as I've been talking about throughout this whole training, the relationship between faculty advising and academic advising is huge. And ever since I got here, that's been kind of a no-brainer. So we want to encourage that relationship. So we're assisting in making sure that they're checking all the boxes to graduate. And then your role really is to mentor and guide them on that path to how can I make my career be launched when I'm done and I graduate and I move forward and I'm as ready as I can be with my portfolio or my experience or my musical experience or whatever it might be. So we want to make sure that we keep working together in that relationship. I love working with faculty, so I'm really appreciative of the faculty that we have at CMU. I've had great relationships with those folks and helping those students, because everyone that I've worked with so far is very student focused. And I worked at schools and that's not always the case. So I do appreciate that here. And then we're just so you guys know, we're always here. So our goal is to be your liaison for the weird world of administration, right? So like, what does the QR mean? And can they double count that? And why can't I sign this major to this degree? We're here to help. So any questions you have, anything that we can assist with, we're always going to be here, and vice versa. You know, we have a list of things that help for amendments, stuff like the journalism 350 and 353, because there's only one of you guys and there's 4 of us. So we have a chance to see students more than you guys can see them. So on the back end, we can make some of those amendments for things that we know this specific course will always substitute for this class. So if you see it, go ahead and do it. So that way we can work together in assisting them on an administrative level. So just know that we're always going to be here for you. And with that, we kind of come to the end of what I had. So I didn't have anything else specifically. My goal was to kind of cover map, talk about notes, and then touch on a couple things to kind of assist your lives in faculty advising. Is there anything else that you guys have questions on, or you'd like me to go back and touch on a little bit?
I've got a couple things. One, we had a course conflict with one of our classes and German, because German, well, traditionally classes, and we're told to schedule classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday for only an hour unless it's after 2 o'clock. That's at least what I was told when I scheduled classes. But German was 2 hours Monday, Wednesday, or an hour and a half Monday and Wednesday. And is that now a new thing?
That's a very good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. My initial answer would be probably to reach out to the German department, to the chair, and just let them know, you know,
Yeah,
they may or not be aware of that.
Yeah, I used to get my hand slapped when I try and do stuff like that. So I just didn't know if you guys knew about that. That was, and math has done that too. So it's rather irritating. But
Yeah, that I don't. I mean, that might be a good, maybe maybe Tucker can reach out, or
yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think the door has opened on that, Mary Beth.
yeah.
I don't know if it's I don't think it was kind of widely broadcast, but I've noticed that over the last few years as well. That kind of shift to longer classes earlier in the mornings.
Well, and so they don't have to have Friday classes is what it is. But when we are trying to play nice, it makes it difficult. That's maybe just more of a commentary. The other thing was, is there a way for you to, students can register by off of their map?
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So let me see here.
What's in the course search registration?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to see. So I need to sign in as a student. So
if you do the Res Apps version of that, Brett, you should be able to pull up there.
Where is it? How do I do that? Remind me.
Yeah, so just put RES in front of that, and you have to be on the VPN if you aren't.
I am. All right.
It's the test site now.
Yep. So can I look for that student?
You should be able to, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
WebEx is so awesome that it keeps not letting me do that. Because the hang down arrow is right where I want to click, and it keeps doing it. Okay, please go away. Thank you. Whew, that was a close one. All right. Let's see if I remember my password.
No pressure.
Well, you have to change it monthly.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, looks like
Everybody
I did
write
not.
down Brett's password.
Yeah.
Yeah, this seriously could be like 15 minutes of
You
me not
should
knowing what it
be-
is.
Hey, Brett, you should be able to pull up their stuff. You just need that password so that if you wanted to administratively make changes. So you should be able to put in or
Yeah,
not.
this is not going to work.
Are you putting in their global? Or I'm sorry, their student ID?